Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Coffee with Venom. Yes, we're gonna be doing this with Bleh.
I don't
Uh,
have coffee with me, but
y- y-
okay.
yeah, I have like an empty like Extreme Masters glass, which by the
Fancy
way, yeah, I
IM.
got this from Sydney, Australia, 2017. All right.
Were you there in IM,
No,
Sydney?
no, I wasn't
Doesn't
there.
count then. Doesn't fucking count.
Doesn't matter. It's like from Australia. All right, so we've got Blair. You guys all know Blair, but for those of you who don't know Blair, Blair is the Asian expert in CS:GO, uh, in the world, right? Right. He's
I
been
think so.
featured
I don't
in
know.
game, which is awesome.
It's a joke. It's a running meme, but okay.
Yeah, but he has been featured in game, and he's casted. He's been casting from his 1.6 days. Yeah.
No. I only started casting in CS:GO.
Okay.
Have played a lot of 1.6 though.
Yeah,
Back to
yeah. So
1.4, I think.
we'll start
1.3.
with the brief history of Bleh. Then we'll move on to some the Indian scene. Of course, we're going to talk about the Asian scene as well,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're going to also answer some fun questions in between. So I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. Big shout out to Arman for the jersey. Thank you. And we've got So Strong versus Talk Esports playing in the background. So I'm gonna have to just mute that.
I
Uh,
need to see this.
yeah.
Wait, is this the yeah? Oh yeah, the corporate challenge, right?
Yeah, yeah, this is the
Oh
corporate
God.
challenge one. So
Oh
I'm
boy.
just gonna move my thing there. And by the way, guys, we're not gonna be reading chat for this one. Really sorry, but you guys are more than welcome to like just talk amongst each other. Like, go for it. All right. So we've got there we go. So we can gameplay start. We have talk. We have two matches. So strong versus Talk Esports playing in the gameplay window, and I think both matches you guys just totally destroy them, right?
I think, I mean, considering that we didn't have our heavy hitters, I think we did pretty well. Ux wasn't there, Petrichor wasn't there because they play in TMG and they weren't allowed to play because they're professional players, so to
Oh
speak.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So this is like our B team.
Acha.
Yeah, we had Archie, who's the goal number 4 or something, I think. We had Nems, whose only Counter Strike experience is playing in casual servers with a shotgun.
Yo, but I thought
So
Nems is like LEM or something, right?
no, Nems is goal number 2.
What? Are you
Yeah,
serious?
yeah. The great CS:GO India admin,
Admin.
the best admin in Asia is a gold Nova 2 or 3.
Wow.
He's a gold Nova. I don't know exactly what 1, 2, 3, or 4, but yeah, he's
Yeah.
pretty shit at the game. But yeah, he was top fragging as well. So
Yeah,
you know,
I think
rank
this is
doesn't
the
matter.
match where you get the 30K, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is the
I
Inferno
guess
match. Yeah,
I guess so. Yeah,
yeah. All right. So
they're
there's
all Inferno matches, so
some
it can
great
be very
gameplay
similar.
going on in the background. So I'm just gonna maybe switch off auto director and focus on players gameplay. So
Hey, yeah, boy, you can see some pretty smooth opting right there.
yeah, there we go. All right. So let's talk about who you are, where you're from. Tell me about yourself, Blair.
Uh,
I have the notes, so I'll know if you're like deviating. Okay, I just need.
Okay, all right. I wonder where you got that from, where you dug that from. Nothing much. I am a Counter-Strike Global Offensive caster slash analyst. I actually got into casting very late in my career, so to speak. I think I started like 3.5, 4 years ago.
Mhm.
And I'm 30 now, so like when it's like 26, so pretty
Wow.
late. Most people start earlier on, so I'm kind of like the join the party a little late. But I've been playing Counter Strike for over like what 13, 14 years now, since 2001 or 2
Okay.
thereabouts.
Mhm.
So it's a game I loved a lot. It's been a part of me. It's been part of my life. Played a lot of it, fallen in love with the game, or have over. I guess I have more like 20,000 hours in the game now, like in all
Twenty
through
thousand hours in like the Counter Strike franchise, like overall.
all the entire
Yeah,
franchise,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. All right.
That's a lot of hours. I think
Yeah, it
overall,
is.
the way, just cutting a long story short, I think
Mhm.
I'm pretty happy with the way happy where I am right now. Talking, working in So Strong, casting, a game which has been a very big part of the majority of my life,
Mhm.
and I'm working for that now. I'm working uh, in esports, so to speak. So yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much my life in a nutshell.
So
Good times.
let's just go into your life a little bit more. So you're born in Bangalore, and
Hmm.
then you moved to Manipur for a
Yeah.
bit. So how long were you in Bangalore before you moved to Manipur? Like how many years were you?
I think a few days. Uh,
Are you serious? Oh, okay,
I was
okay.
I was born here, but my parents are from different parts of the country. My
Right.
dad's from the east side. My mom's from Bangalore,
Okay.
and I spent the majority, like my entire childhood, was in Manipur. Like I did my schooling over there, and then moved over to Bangalore for my engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Finished my bachelor's. And I was in the stateside for like a year and a half, couple of years, I
So
think,
you were
doing
gaming
my
throughout this,
MS.
right? You were like
Yeah,
playing.
yeah,
What were you
like
playing? What was the first game you sort of like you got your teeth
uh,
on?
the first game I ever saw was Prince of Persia,
Okay.
the original Prince of Persia, 1992. I was 5, I think, and I
Uh
played it
huh.
on one of my uncle's PCs. Most people say Dave, but it's Prince of Persia for me.
For me, it was
And
Wolf, but yeah. Okay.
well, Wolf was a little later down the line. Then I got my hands on those counterfeit Chinese-made consoles. You know,
Uh huh.
the 32
The
bits.
Nintendo copies.
The Nintendo copies,
Yeah, yeah,
various
yeah.
ones like Cyber Warrior 3. Yeah, that was my first console. I had a
Mm-hmm.
hands-me-down Atari system as well.
Okay.
The really really old games. I don't remember them. And
Pong.
then
I
Pong,
mean,
well, not a little bit more advanced in Pong, but yeah, some pretty shitty. Not shitty. I still love them. I think my favorite game, apart from Counter Strike, would be Contra, the original. And I
okay.
actually finished that game dying just once.
It's out on the Android, on Android and iPhone.
Yeah, but I just kind of get used to those
No,
controls.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. Fair
but
enough.
yeah, but my greatest achievement in video gaming is finishing Contra just dying once, all the
Wow.
8 levels.
Was
So
that your
that's
first try or like that was like?
no, definitely not first try. Like
Okay, okay.
after dying a gazillion times, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of my favorite games.
You should stream
Uh,
that. Like you should just.
I should probably give it a shot, but I probably embarrass myself right now, so I have to, get back into the groove. But yeah, I've been playing games pretty much the entire thing. I got in Counter Strike in 2001, I think it was. Played with some local friends, and I thought it was pretty good at the game. And then played bots. I'm like, yeah, I beat expert bots. What's up, yo?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I came to Bangalore, that's when I met this very close friend of mine called Vishnu, and he's like, oh, I play Counter Strike as well. I'm like, okay, what else do you play? He's like, I play Unreal Tournament as well, and I play Quake as well. So we went to this.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people remember, but it's a place called Reliance Web World.
Of course.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, the kids
he,
won't remember, but we do. I
yeah,
mean, yeah.
and Vish just handed my ass to me on all 3 games. Like I lost that UT down the tournament,
Which
2K4,
map?
I think it
Which
was.
map in
It
Wahengbam?
was Duel, the map Duel. It's a
Duel?
1v1 map.
Is it the Blake map? No.
No, it's like a circular, like an oval shaped room
Oh yeah,
with
yeah.
like
That's the one where you
yeah.
fight Anika, the girl, who there's rocket launchers and shock
There's a
rifles.
rocket launcher, lightning gun, and there's no spawning health. There's no health as such, but there is in the center. There's like this spot, like this is pit where you can
Yeah,
like pick
you
up
switch it
some
on,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, I lost 50 minus 2 to him.
Wow.
So that was embarrassing. Then he humiliated me in Quake. He ran around with a gauntlet, and I wasn't that bad, by the way. And he destroyed me there. And then Counter Strike is the game where he owned me. But then I'm like,
Okay.
CS is the game where I'm like, you know what? I think I can beat him in this game. I still can't beat him in Quake and UT, but
Okay.
CS is like, I'm like,
Yeah,
you know
because
what?
I think Quake and UT is very reflex based. So like if you're like
It's very
you've got that
reflex based, and
reaction time,
yeah,
then
and I
you're gonna be good.
personally feel those games have a higher individual skill ceiling than Counter Strike does.
Oh yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I do believe so. I think Quake 3, Quake 2, these games, the skill ceiling that some players reach is ridiculous, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in Counter Strike, it's a little bit. It does have a very high skill ceiling, but you kind of feel like you stand a chance against some of these guys.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked up Counter Strike, and that's when he
Because
introduced
of
me
the
to
lower
competitive
skill
side.
ceiling. I like that.
Because of the lower skill ceiling, I put it out there. I think Quake's a harder game than Counter Strike. I really believe in that.
Right.
And then he introduced me to the professional side of CS, like teams, and like back in the day NIP. We had NOA, we had Team 3D, all these old school teams, and he was like, "These are how they play. This is how the game is." And for me, it was like it blew my mind because yes, I had watched StarCraft earlier on before that, but
Right.
it never really hit me like these games could be played at a very very highly tactical and at a competitive level. I think that's a moment when I'm like, you know what? I think this. I used to follow cricket quite a bit, but apart from that, I was never a sports sort of guy. I never used to follow sports like most dudes used to.
Yeah.
But I think that's when I got introduced to the competitive Counter Strike scene. That's when I'm like, hey, you know what? This is something I really want to follow, and I think that's where it all kind of
Started.
the seed was planted, so to speak. Yeah.
So you guys had a 1.6 team, right? Like with Vishnu.
Yeah.
What were you guys called?
It was called Venom.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh shit.
we with a three, with a three. It was called Venom with a
All
three,
right, I
and
just want to pause and address like all the viewers who have told me, who have called me Venom from Brutality for the last fucking 10 years. Fuck you guys, all right? Because Venom is such a normal name in Counter Strike.
yeah, and this was in 2005.
All right, there you go. So like I've been Venom since Condition 0 or 1.6. So like I was Venom before Brutality Venom. Just wanted to put it out there. All right, moving on. So you guys formed a
Okay.
team 1.6 Venom.
Yeah, but it was just a college team. We played for fun. It was only Vish and me who were completely dedicated. Like we used to
All
spend
right.
entire nights watching demos. Well, the rest of our friends were like just there to have fun. They're just trying to play.
Yeah.
We weren't like that great or anything, but Vish was a very pretty famed UT player. I think it was like second best or third best in the country at
What
one
was
point.
his in-game name?
Wolverine with the one.
Okay.
All right. But this is like I'm talking about 2003, 2004, like a long time back. Anyway, so we kind of stopped playing after that, like as in like to win tournaments and whatnot. We just kept following the international scene and just play for fun. That's pretty much my competitive career, except in CS:GO where I came back. I thought, yeah, it's a new game. Let's give it a shot. Founded MXB, aka Master Baiters, with
Yes.
Hellranger.
Yeah.
Hellranger right now, best in-game leader and the best team in the world in the country.
In the country,
Entity
yeah.
Gaming. And he and me founded this team called Master Baiters, and we actually got featured in HLTV because we came top 4 for the ESL Cologne 2014 qualifiers. And we're like,
Wow.
and I'm like, yeah, that's achievement unlocked. I'm done playing.
Wait, how did you know Hellranger? Did you like find him randomly?
We met on matchmaking, and he was this raging, annoying little twat. Like he was so ragey. People used to leave the match. This is before ESCA So Strong or
Yeah.
Face It anything was there in India, or in Asia,
In
so to
Asia,
speak. It was just
okay.
matchmaking. And every time Hellranger I used to invite him into my lobby, matchmaking lobby. People used to leave.
Hellranger's
then-
from is he a Delhi?
No, he's from Mumbai,
He's
which
from
is
Mumbai.
which is strange. You expect him to be from Delhi, right?
Yeah.
And they used to leave and then invite me to a separate lobby. And they were like, don't call him. Don't call him. But I saw that he had a lot of promise. He used to rage not because he was just a raging, an asshole, but he wanted to win. He wanted to win so desperately, and I found that I like that hunger, which is why we teamed up together. I had some very good times in that team, and then obviously I had to choose between
your
casting
team
and
was
this.
Hellranger, Spawn. Who were the
No,
other
no,
two?
no. This was the first iteration. Was Hellranger, myself, Haku, who played for
Okay.
TMG, who's played quite often from Hyderabad. Then we had a player called Commander from Delhi, and our fifth player was always a rotating
Okay.
guy. We never had a proper fifth. And then after I left, Hell formed a local Mumbai team, and that became like that morphed over the years into the team he has now, which is way better than the team we had back then. He's got Marzul, he's got Sai, he's got Amaterasu, Falcon. I mean, these are way more better players than I ever was. So he's doing good for himself. I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, he is. I met him in ESL India. I mean, the office in Delhi. So the entire entity gang was like having a good conversation with Fed. But is it unethical that casters in India are giving like teams advice?
No, I don't think so. It happens. It happens around the world as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it does. Like, for example, I imagine Yanko YNK. Every time Nico's not performing something, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes up to Nico and tells him, "Hey man, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?" Because they were teammates back in the day, right?
Okay.
I don't think there's anything wrong in giving advice as long as.
Yeah, because I mean, you guys have like this wealth of information and insight into the game, which the
The-
players need not have. Most probably they don't.
True, it is true. I do believe that I learned more about the game casting and analyzing than I ever did playing the game. I know it's funny, even though I've played way longer than I've casted, but looking at the game from a different perspective, a more holistic angle, gives you a better understanding of how deep the game can really go, what goes wrong. You can actually see patterns and whatnot, which as a player you might not necessarily recognize. Even as an in-game leader, it is hard, which is why if you look at teams nowadays like Astralis, SK, all these guys, they got analysts, they got coaches, they got mental coaches, they got so many people supporting them, right? And I think the problem with Asian teams, Indian players, Asian players, whatever, they're just not open or receptive to the fact that hey, they might. You might want to learn something. I kind of get this vibe that most of them are pretty complacent with the fact that they know what they're doing, and I think it'd be pretty cool. I'm not saying they should ask me alone or Archie. They could ask anyone who they believe can add inputs into the way they play about it. Like I've spoken to a couple of teams from Southeast Asia who have approached me and they're like, "Hey man, like you cast our
Could
games."
you name these teams? Like who?
Yeah, like for example, I had chats with from the guys from Reka.
Reka, are they the Indonesian team?
Yeah, Bentet's X team.
Yeah.
Reka Esports have spoken to Dreamscape from Singapore, Boot Dreamscape's impression, and you just start a conversation. They'll be like, "Hey, you casted our game. What do we do wrong? What do we do right?" And I'm more than happy to give them my thoughts on on what I felt.
That's a stark difference between the international scene and the Indian scene. Like,
yeah, I feel that. I feel that the Indian players in general, I'm not saying everyone, but in general, are less receptive to inputs or advice, or they treat it as an ego clash or something. I kind of feel that they feel like their egos get hurt if, or that there's in some way they're being demeaned if.
I've seen that because in India, matchmaking rank seems to be like the function of respect, which is really this is ridiculous. I mean, shouldn't
it is ridiculous. Like I've heard, I'm not going to take any names, but I've heard tales of how players don't want to listen to someone else if they're not top fragging or some shit like that. Like I've heard tales from very legit sources that that they don't listen to an in-game leader because they're like, hey, you have like 10 kills, I have 20 kills, why the hell should I listen to you? I'm like, that's not. Yeah. That is so childish.
Because the IGL is thinking throughout the game. He's not concentrating on trades.
That is stupid. Yeah. That's stupidity at its finest. Like, the coach is not supposed to play as well as you can. That's why you're the player. That's why he's not in the server. You're supposed to listen to him. You're supposed to listen to people who probably understand the game better than you do, and there's nothing wrong in accepting that and learning from that, right? I think...
Which is what Entity is doing with Prashant.
Yeah, I think, and which is why they're the one team that I'm kind of looking forward to right now, because they are starting from scratch. I was speaking to Prashant, how he's working with Entity, and he's just broken down whatever preconceived notions they have of how to approach the game. He's broken it out completely, and he's... kind of starting from scratch, but they're listening to him. They're willing to let go of the 3-4 years of experience, or 5-6, or maybe more years in the case of Amaterasu or Falcon, just letting go of that and saying, okay, keep your experience aside, not saying toss it away, but try this method, try building this team on this particular platform using this particular structure, and then bring in your experiences. Maybe that might help. And they're actually working on that, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, in fact, if you look at the European teams, the North American teams, one of the tier 1 teams, they're all about adapting between tournaments, right? They think of new strategies. That's something that the Asian scene has not, Asian including an Indian scene, has not caught up to yet. Like, are we behind? How far are we behind?
A fuck ton. A fuck ton. Let's put it very simply here. I think it mainly happened because in Europe and North America, many of the players who played 1.6, they transitioned into CSGO. And when newer players came about, there was a shift in the meta, but there were these old guard who were there to transfer information, transfer knowledge into how the game was played all these years. So there was a continuous evolution of how the game is played over different versions of the game. In Asia, unfortunately, 99% of the players playing CSGO right now haven't really played earlier versions of the game, or if they have played 1.6 or so, it's been at a pretty low level. They haven't really done much. The only really successful team in 1.6 is are the Koreans, the Korean team.
Oh, okay.
Project KR, but they retired because in South Korea you have these military duties and all the compulsory military duties. So they retired early on, and there was no transfer information taking place, right? And now they're back again, but they're still playing together. They haven't really, I don't think, bothered kind of grooming the young crowd or whatnot. And Asia is a big place, right? I mean, Korea, China.
It's funny that the esports started in Korea, right? I mean, with StarCraft.
There's actually a very good video Thorin made, if you guys could check that out, where there is a misconception that esports was invented or started in South Korea.
Okay.
But that's not the case. The thing was, StarCraft in particular was a phenomenon, was a cultural phenomenon. It wasn't just a game in Korea, and that made Korea shine compared to the rest of the scene. But there were esports tournaments happening around the world, in Europe, in North America. Yes, it did not have the cultural peak that StarCraft had in early 2000s, thereabouts, but it has gradually grown to what we see it right now. So if you look at the way esports is in in North America or Europe right now. It's actually, I feel, more healthier and more um, stable, I would say, compared to in Korea, where StarCraft was a cultural phenomenon. Yes, they were the first guys to make it like so massive with stadiums sold out and all that, but that was just a peak. It wasn't like something that was very sustainable, so to speak. It is still very big in South Korea, but I think it's kind of a slight misunderstanding that many people believe South Korea is kind of like it is. Yeah, I do believe it is the mecca of esports, but it's
Yeah,
not
but
where it really
where did wait, so
started out.
where did it start exactly?
I think it just started organically on its own in many places. Don't quote me on this, but there were all these small LAN cafes which had tournaments for Quake One. Like for example, I don't know how many people know this. Like SK Gaming it stands for short. I don't know how to pronounce it in German, but it's Schrott Commando. It's a shotgun from Quake. It was founded in 1997. It was a Quake One clan, right?
Sure.
So 1997 is way before
Yeah.
StarCraft happened, and like the thing happened in Korea. So
Yeah,
I think it was multiple little clusters of like-minded people playing around the world, and it kind of like slowly built itself into what it is right now.
It's probably because of the kind of wealth these Korean esports players like accumulated, and the wealth and fame. I mean, they were just shot into like the kind of fame that like musicians and actors get.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were the movie stars of their generation. They were the pop stars. They were like, I've seen some videos where they're surrounded by fangirls and signing autographs, and you see some nerdy, pimply faced guys with the specs and all, and no emotions. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. Do you think this is ever gonna happen in India?
No, it might down the line, but not anytime soon.
Yeah,
Not anytime soon. We're far away from that, and doesn't help that. No matter how well you package it, you need to have players with personality and some panache. Look, the thing with EU are they have the better players. Let's be honest, they have the best teams and players. The thing with North America are they have. Not saying they have bad players. They have a pretty decent bunch of good players as well, but they have personality. They have that marketability. Like, look at Nothing, look at Shroud, all these guys. And then we have our Asians and Indians who don't really have the personality, nor do they really have the skill set. So you need one of those too. You need one of those two.
No, I mean it's an interesting point that you've made that that the previous players, the European players, have like passed on this wealth of information, which did not happen in the other countries. That's actually a very important point, which a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people know this, but. Yeah, for Asia to ever catch up, we're gonna take a couple of years. It's gonna be a while, right? Or do you think the Asian scene is like up there with at least maybe tier 2 North American teams?
Not really.
Okay.
I think maybe a handful, maybe 3 or 4 of them, like Tyloo, Flash, Vici, Eclipse, like 4 or 5 teams maybe can compete with the tier 2, tier 3 North American teams. But I think fundamentally all these teams are lacking a lot of very basic things, which most teams take for granted. I've spoken to Rambo, old school legendary 1.6 player, spoken to DSN, again, legendary Fnatic player. They're coaching these Asian teams. When I asked them, like, what's the biggest flaw you find, they say, basic things that they took for granted when they were growing up, when they were playing Counter, or when they were learning the game, it's just non-existent in Asia. Like communication, like how to approach the game as a team, how to work the objective, basic fundamentals are missing. Now, these players are very talented, but we don't have the basic fundamentals of how to play the game to win. It's going to be a very tall order. Yeah, you might win a couple of games just based off pure aim, but it is not sustainable. And if it is not sustainable, then you really can't call yourself a good team.
Right. So let's move on to like. Oh, by the way, you were the first Twitch streamer to be partnered in India. Is that true?
Sorry?
You were the first Twitch streamer to be partnered in India?
I don't think so. There was AFK Gaming.
All right.
AFK Gaming was
you were one of the first, right?
Okay, I might be wrong here, but the only streamer or stream channel which I knew was partnered before me was AFK Gaming.
All right. So, are you going to continue streaming? Is that something you want to do, or?
I don't really stream much. I don't think I'm a streaming guy. I actually started out my casting career by streaming, actually, like just streaming fun, and I realized that it's really hard to get viewers. Let's be honest, while streaming, to start things out, especially in India, especially in Twitch when you're no namer, and that's when I started picking up these ESCA Open games, which is taking place in Asia at the time, and no one was covering them. So I thought, hey, why not do something with the streaming instead of just playing games? Why not try, casting these guys? And that was something I found myself more comfortable with, more animated with, because when I play games, I'm just too into the game, like into CS or PUBG or whatever.
That's
I'm
the
not able to
struggle.
interact or have fun.
Yeah.
That's a struggle, and I'm not the sort of guy who's gonna be like, hey man, what's up, thanks for the sub, dude. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy who's gonna be into the game, and I'm just look at the chat, answer a few questions, and go back to the game. So I'm not really a good streamer.
Any advice you have to these Indian streamers who are like coming up? Like they're professional players, like Sai, Venom from Brutality. All these guys are like streaming. Do you think they should be wasting their time streaming?
No, I think streaming is a very viable career opportunity, but I think the most important thing about streaming is you got to stream not to be famous, not to make money, but to have fun.
Yeah.
Because if you're not having fun, it's very evident to your viewers. They're not going to fall for it. Don't get into streaming to make it your job, or to make money, or to be famous or anything of that nature. Just start getting into streaming because you're having fun. And if it works out, do a good job of it, interact with viewers and everything. But if it works out, it works out. But if it doesn't, don't just sink it. I've heard about some streamers in India who've taken a sabbatical for a year or something like this, to stream throughout and blah blah. And I'm like, man,
yeah, don't give up on your actual career, which will
put food on the table. I'm looking at the streams. Yeah. I'll be honest, what new are you bringing to the table? I watched some of the streams, and I don't want to sound harsh, but it's nothing special. I'll be honest, nothing special. Like, there are a gazillion people doing the same thing.
Yeah. I'm working a day job and doing this, so this is streaming is not something that I will ever look as a viable career. Even if it pays, it's just never going to be job.
Yeah, but if it clicks, yeah, sure, go ahead, right? Quit your job, continue on it, absolutely. But some people going for it full-fledged, especially in India, it's really, really hard. It's really tricky. And I think some people have just got into it because they see a Shroud, they see a Dr. Disrespect, and all these guys, and they're like, hey, you know what? I want to be like them. That's a very cool thing to have. But you got to understand, many of these guys became what they are after years of grinding or being extremely lucky. It's not that easy.
Yeah.
And it's not just roses and flowers and everything. It takes time. It takes time. It takes luck. It takes effort. And I think most people don't realize that. They think, hey, I'm gonna stream for 10 hours. And it is going to work. No, it doesn't work. You know this, don't you?
Yeah. I don't stream for more than 3 hours. Like, I don't have that kind of time. I have personal life. I have work. But anyway, let's get back to your career, which we were originally talking about. Right. What was your big break in casting as a caster?
My big break as caster was when I was working for ESL India.
Okay.
For 6 months, and I was about to leave. I was about to join So Strong, but before that, that got me to cast the ESL 1 Cologne 2015 qualifiers, where the Indian team famously got 16-0'd by Renegades. They got me to Malaysia to cast that tournament. So that's
Renegades is which country?
The Australian team.
Yeah.
It was before the Asian minors, before the minor system was in place. It was the Cologne qualifier, which was a major qualifier, right? So we had the Indian team Neckbreak playing as well. So I was a part of the casting crew alongside Demon from League of Legends, ex-League of Legends, very famous name. Jason Kaplan, who was working for ESL, who's still working for ESL, and I think right now he's casting Overwatch quite full-fledged as well. Jason Kaplan, and there was Karn as well from Counter-Strike, from Fnatic. He wasn't casting; he was just there. So that was my first time meeting well-established industry veterans and well-known professionals in the casting sphere. Till then, it was just me doing my shit, just shooting in the dark, hoping this works out. If someone's like, hey, how much do you charge per day? I'm like, oh shit, I have no idea, right? So I had no context. I had no contacts with anyone in the scene, any professionals. So this was I felt a big break. I got noticed by quite a few people, and I made some pretty good contacts. Just going there, meeting some of the head ESL guys, meeting these guys like Jason Kaplan, Demon. They helped me a lot as well, and working with people who have that much experience will always help you if you are looking to improve yourself as well. I think that was
you also went to Taiwan, right?
That led eventually to Taipei, the IEM Taipei event, where met quite a few, of the who's who in CS:GO talent, like met Anders, Semler, Moses, DDK, Pansy, Vendetta, all these guys, really, really, really nice guys, really nice, really humble guys, and so yeah, I think
Are you in touch with any of these guys still?
yeah, pretty much almost all of them.
Okay.
Like I said, very very nice guys. I think people like Moses, Semler, they've pushed for me in quite a few events, like quite a few events which I've got, or maybe I didn't get because of whatever reasons. Because look, end of the day, the decision lies in the hands of the tournament organizer. They decide who gets hired.
Does it suck that you have like that you need the visa because you don't have the
Oh yeah, it does
passport
suck.
situation?
Having an Indian passport is probably the biggest obstacle in my so-called endeavor to be a caster, and I can't help it. It's just the way it is, right? Unless I get a green card or something. But apart from that, like for example, the not this Asia Minor, but the one in May, I was supposed to fly to Bucharest, Romania, and I got my visa the day before the event. So my flights actually got canceled. I actually got a replacement, and then So Strong, being a pretty chill company to work with, they're like, "Hey, let's talk to PGL and let's ask them. We'll fly you down. We'll pay for your tickets to fly down.
Wow.
But are they willing to have you from day 2 onwards?" And PGL like, "Yeah, sure, absolutely, right."
Yeah.
So I arrived a day late, but should have happened. I applied for my visa like as early as like almost like 20 days beforehand. It just took forever, and that's the shitty part about.
This is why you need to know like people in the visa office. Like it really
yeah, but there's so many visa offices, right? Like there was a Taiwan incident. I reached the venue on by the time the event had started, like 2 games were done with, and I literally ran from the airport all the way to the venue. And I walk in, and there's Anders, there's Semler, and Moses. They have no idea who I am. They know there's another caster supposed to work with them, the Asia expert, but they don't know me. I walk up, I'm completely out of breath. I'm like, "Hi, I'm gonna be working with you guys," and they're like, "Oh, okay, you're a little late." I'm like, "Yeah, the flight just landed right now." So yeah, the Indian passport does lead to some pretty tight scenarios, pretty rough times.
So so during this time you were working with So Strong? No, you started working with Nogden Gaming, right? And
yeah, I was working on Maiden Gaming, who were also handling ESL India.
Right.
Worked with them for 6 months, and then I joined So Strong, and it's been
so you were
2.5 years now.
you were in Delhi before you came to
I was
Bangalore.
in Gurgaon. I was in Gurgaon for 6 months.
How was that?
Oh shit.
Fet has asked me to ask you this question. Would you rather be on the front lines of World War II or Gurgaon in summer?
I'd rather be in the front lines of World War II during the Normandy invasion on D-Day, because you know what? I might die quickly. At least that'll be a quick death, instead of having to stay in Gurgaon for 6 months in the summer. So yes, Archie, I would go with World War II any freaking day.
All right, let's talk about the Asian scene first before we talk about the Indian scene. I know everybody wants to watch the Indian scene breakdown, but I would rather concentrate on the Asian scene first. So I have just a list of names of all the best teams and their rankings worldwide right now. And Renegades is apparently ranked 1 according to.
I really wouldn't take Renegades as an Asian team anymore, because yes, they are an Australian team originally, but they've been living in North America for so long now, right? So it's 3 Australians, 2 North Americans, Snapfly and Nifty, and I wouldn't call Renegades as an Asian Australian team anymore. Like I think, yeah, sure, it's really cool when they win. See all the Aussies going like Aussie, 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 Aussie. It's pretty cool. But I wouldn't call them. I think they've transcended the Asian scene altogether.
That's great. I mean, that's what like even the entity guys are trying to do. Like they're trying to first make a name in the Asian scene. I mean, we interviewed Mazel recently, and that's what he said.
Yeah, that's true. Renegades for the longest time were always knocking on the door of international events. They were always the best team in Asia, Oceania, thereabouts. There was a time when they were neck to neck with Tyloo, but right now I think they're by far the best team who have ever come out from Australia and in Asia, especially in CSGO at the very least. So I think they've transcended that. So yes, they are number 1, but I wouldn't really bring them into the picture anymore. I think they're like a couple of divisions ahead of any Asian or Australian team right now.
All right. So could you give us like a breakdown, like maybe by country, like of the teams, and like generally give us an overview of what's happening in the Asian scene? for people who don't know?
Okay, like nothing much to be honest. It's been I think. When was it? I think it was 2015 when Crazy Guy from Skyred was in the DreamHack major qualifiers and inclusion of Poker, and that's when the entire hashtag CS:GO to Asia started out because everyone were kind of surprised with how good this guy was. But ever since then, I don't think anything really has. We've achieved anything overall. Yes, Tyloo beat Luminosity, aka current SK Gaming, in a best of three. They had a few upsets here and there, but apart from that, we've just been going in circles, right? The scene. They had this big experiment, getting Bondic and getting Peacemaker as a coach. That didn't pan out.
Why do you say that didn't pan out? Isn't
'Cause
Peacemaker X? Sorry, I'm forgetting what he is. Which team is he playing from?
I'm
He
sorry.
used to play from? Which team did Peacemaker
Bondic?
play for?
Oh no, Peacemaker was a coach.
Yeah, he was the
Peacemaker
coach,
was
but-
coaching. Yeah, he coached a lot of teams. He was coaching, I
Okay.
think Liquid as well. All these guys. He came there. He spent a lot of time with the team, boot camping with them in EU. They got Bondic from Hellraisers, but after like a couple of events, Bondic left, and Peacemaker left to John Heroic as well. So Tyler were now left with an empty slot. You don't have a coach, and they kind of lost in the wilderness. They still have the chops to be the best team in Asia, but right now that's not saying much, to be honest. Like Tyloo, Flash, VG Gaming, Eclipse.
These are all Chinese teams.
Yeah, these four Chinese teams. Then we have Dreamscape, Boot Dreamscape from Singapore.
Okay.
Then we have the MVP PK guys from Korea, who were like I said, the old school Korean team, which is really good in 1.6. Then we have Australian teams, like we have Greyhound Gaming, we have Chiefs, we got Kings Club, although I think they just lost their team. And then we have a few teams like that in Australia. But the problem is, right now, like if you take the best in Asia and the best in Australia, I think it would be a pretty competitive tournament if you got like the top four from both the regions to fight it out. But is there any team amongst all of these who can compete with Tier 2 EU who could make an impact? I doubt it. I really doubt it. I think it's going to take a while for them to evolve. And what frustrates me is I don't see the evolution happening. It's just a vicious cycle of shuffles happening. I've heard rumors that by February this next year, or like I think January, when many teams' contracts expire, there are going to be a lot of shuffling happening amongst many Asian teams.
But doesn't shuffling actually spoil like team morale?
No, I mean I don't think so. I think shuffling is good if it's handled the right way. Look at FaZe. They didn't perform well. Immediate boom, shuffle. They pick up Guardian and Olofmeister. There's nothing wrong in that. I think shuffling is done at the right time works, because here's the thing. Look at NIP, for example. Many people are NIP fanboys, and I think Thorin mentioned this the best, where he mentioned how NIP. Everyone's like, oh, they're best friends, they're not going to move, blah blah. But when there was opportunity for NIP to pick up really good players, like when there's an opportunity for them to pick up some young blood back then, they didn't pick them up. They're like, no, we're going to work it through. We're going to stick together. We're family, we're roster lock and all that. But nothing worked out, did they? Like those players got picked up, and by that time it was a little too late. And the time you take delaying picking up a new player or delaying a roster change, that's time you're never going to get back. That's time you could have used to build a new team. That's time you could have used to make your just kind of like drill into the new roster, right?
Right. If you were building like a super team in the Asian scene from Asian teams, what would your five-man be?
An Asian team, huh? Like I'm just gonna talk about Asia, not Australia.
Yeah.
I'd pick Bentet first and foremost.
Is he?
Bentet.
Is he? I think he's widely considered the best player.
He is
Asia.
Objectively, subjectively, in any way you look at it, he's the best player in Asia. Hands down. The stat speaks for itself. It's on LAN, it's on online. The guy does more than he's supposed to do, and I feel so bad for him, and I feel like he as a player is someone who an EU team can pick up and they could work with him. I don't say that much about most Asian players, but this guy, he plays good Counter-Strike. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But speaking of the top team, a super team, I'd take Bentet. I'd take Kaze from Flash Gaming. Bentet. I would take Freeman from Vici Gaming, and a couple more players. I would pick up Benkai from Dreamscape.
Okay.
And who's the fifth? I would probably take.
Anybody from Reka?
No, The only one from Reka I would pick up would be Excurate, but he's an AWPer, and he's not that consistent. He hasn't really proven himself on land that much yet. Kazi is a better AWPer, I feel, right now. And I'd probably pick up the fifth would probably be a rifler. Maybe it would be somebody, or maybe it would be Fancy from Flash Gaming right now. But attacker or Fancy. So that's a player. It would be a multinational team. You know,
Yeah.
it'd have an Indonesian, a Malaysian. It would have a Hong Kong player. You'd have a Chinese player. And yeah, it'd be a pretty interesting lineup. But that's again assuming that they are going to speak in English, which I doubt. So
All right, if you were to do like a country breakdown, like take China, take Malaysia, Indonesia, just take the teams from these countries. We can do China first. So you've got Flash Gaming, Vichy, Eclipse, Dailu, right? These are the best teams.
yeah,
So
right now.
like so what could you give us like an overview of like how these teams have been doing? Any insights, any advice you'd have for these teams to like improve?
I don't know, man. Like, I honestly don't know. They need to work on some basic fundamentals of Counter Strike, which they just refuse to adapt to. I believe. Like, look, here's a fundamental rule in Counter Strike, in competitive Counter Strike, right? If you ask me how do I play career Counter Strike, give it to me in one line. It would be minimize any opportunities to lose the round, or alternately, maximize the chances of winning a round. That means try and minimize the mistakes, the unnecessary peaks, the unnecessary plays that you have to do. And that, as a concept, if you can apply that concept into every aspect of your game, you will automatically have a better game overall. You would automatically be a better team. But Chinese teams, for better or for worse, just refuse to, not just Chinese teams, Asian teams, they refuse to break these bad habits. It's bad habits has been inculcated, built into them over years of playing the wrong style of CS. So they need to break that. And yeah, that's literally the only advice I can give. Like, forget whatever you know. You have the aim, you have the mechanics, but start working from ground level up on how to build a team, how to start from scratch, how to break down all the mistakes and avoid them, prevent them, and start building good habits. Like, for example, a very famous example would be Chinese players. They just love taking fights. They love peeking out, and you peek out once, fine. You don't peek out again in the same angle. That's suicide against a good team. But since they're not punished in the domestic events they play in, they seem overconfident going into international games. And even though they're telling themselves don't peek, it kind of is muscle memory, right?
Yeah.
They automatically just fall into bad habits.
You fed these bad habits, and they're gonna pay at the higher levels.
It's I could write a book on what they really need to fix.
You should. I mean, I think a lot of players would buy that.
I don't think so. That's a problem. I don't think so.
All right.
Anyway.
Coming to Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia, we've got Reka, we've got Boom ID, Rampage. Could you name some of the Malaysian teams which you'd like?
Malaysia actually had one of the best teams in SCA. They had this team called MVP Carnal, aka JYP Gaming, but then they kind of broke up. And right now, Fire Dragoon would be the best team in Malaysia, but nothing special. Like, all the SCA teams are kind of like at the same level, so to speak. The Thai teams like Signature, like Beyond Godlike, those are Thai teams. And then in Indonesia, you have Boom ID, you have Reka Esports. In Malaysia, you have Fire Dragoon, Orange Esports. I think they're still around. But overall, I think the two teams that stand out for me in Southeast Asia, like Singapore, all these regions would be Boot Dreamscape and Reka Esports right now. But
So
not but not like crazy. Yeah.
What is Dreamscape doing right? Like, what are they doing which maybe the other teams can learn from?
I think they have fundamentally good communication. They approach the game from a more structured perspective compared to many other teams, rather than just relying on raw firepower. There is structure, but what they do wrong is also the fact that when the going gets tough, that structure collapses and they kind of seem to lose their head. They choke. Let's put it that way. They choke a lot. But they do have, one of the fundamental aspects that works for them is they have very good comms overall compared to other Asian teams. And they approach the game with a structure in mind. When I say structure, I'm not talking about executes. I'm not talking about going for, okay, you three guys smoke over here, then we do a pop flash here. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about defaults, having a basic structure and how the team works, how it, your team should be more like a fluid structure where you should be able to adapt. And I think they're pretty good at that, except when, like I said, when the pressure mounts and then they start to crumble.
Mm-hmm. And what about Dreamscape? What do you think they are doing right?
No, it's the same team, Blue Dreamscape. I think you asked me the same question.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Anyway, so you were talking about the Asian scene, and now I'd like to just talk about the Indian scene for a bit.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, I mean we've got mostly Indian viewers right now, so that's what they've paid to watch this. I think they've paid to
Masala
watch
time,
this.
boys.
Yes, yes.
Let's go.
All right.
Indian
So
scene.
first of all, let's talk about television in Indian CS:GO. All right.
Okay.
You guys are featured on D Sports, which is something a lot of people are tuning in for. Everybody is tuning in for. In fact, you had numbers in the 100,000s in terms of viewers.
I think so. Yeah.
No, you did. Like I have the I have the numbers.
Okay. I don't know. I haven't seen myself. I haven't seen a show myself. So.
All right. So we have ESL India doing this, and then we have something called UCypher, which is coming up, which guys like Brutality have been concentrating on. They've been ignoring the Masters because this thing is apparently going to be the next big thing in CS:GO, and ESL India has pretty much done what E League has done. Like they have they've not messed with the format, but when CGS started in North America, we had them paying team players a lot of money, and I feel like UCypher is going down the CGS route. Do you think this is a bad thing or this is a good thing?
Okay, let's start from the top, right? TV in India. Now, TV is the biggest medium in India. Let's be honest about it, right?
Yeah.
Now, it is cool that Counter Strike is being shown on TV. Which is why I like what ESL India are doing. Sure, they have breaks after every 5 minutes, but that's because of advertising, whatnot. But it's still not messing around what the game is. The game is a serious esports. It should be respected. The game should be respected. The scene should be respected. The team should be respected. I mean, no, esports wouldn't be what it is without the games and the teams. Let's be honest about it. Without players, right? So that's why I like what ESL India are doing. I am a little worried though that there might be a little bit too much money coming in early on, and we would kind of like StarCraft. Kind of like StarCraft in Korea, where we build this cocoon where we have a lot of shows, people are tuning in, people are watching Indian esports, blah blah blah, but we still remain shit, and we don't really achieve anything outside, but inside we're like, yeah, we're the best. We got our league going on here. In StarCraft in Korea, they had the best players in the world playing there. So that's the difference there. We just don't have the teams who are able to compete internationally. So I don't want it to become a bloated scene where teams are earning too much of money. It's good for them, they're earning money, but just not for beating each other. Just being the kings in a small little pond. The tale, right? King of the frog in the pond storyline over there. So I don't want that to happen, and I'm worried that might happen. But that's just a faint fear I have. UCypher, on the other hand, look, I've heard a lot of tales about what's happening in UCypher, right? About how they're trying to masalify everything, and it's a cool thing, MTV in the house, it's like the next cyber warrior games, man. Like, get some hot chicks too. We've seen this happen, haven't we? GameSpawn, I don't know how many guys remember this, Star Gold or Star Plus or whatever. I remember watching this when I was 18, 19, and I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? It was horrendous. GameSpawn was bullshit. They fucked around too much with it was ridiculous. It was just an atrocity by a bunch of who did not know what esports is, and they're like, I want a piece of that pie. Then we had another one. I forgot the name of this one. It was called, God damn it. This is around 2010. There's another show that happened where they had Crisis 3 or Crisis, yeah. Ux played in it. Ux, who used to play for TMG, he played in it, and quite a few people. Even that was a big ass flop because they're trying to.
This was TV, by the way.
This was television. Yes.
Wow. I had no idea this was happening.
I can actually give you the link later. You can probably embed it in the YouTube thing. This happened as well. It was horrendous. That you get two models walking up and they go like, it's a wilderness, it is dark, it is quiet, and suddenly you hear bang, a headshot through your head. These are the warriors on the cyber, blah blah blah. It was so, I don't like using the word cringe, but holy fuck shit, that's cringe.
Yeah, well, sex
Uh,
sells. Sex apparently also sells video games. So clearly, I think that's what they were thinking when they were like, let's put some sexy babes in the
I
jungle.
know, and I think Yusuf is kind of going down that route.
Mm.
They're trying to, I heard this again. It's all hearsay.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I heard they're like, asking the players to like, show fake emotion and say, "I'm going to take you down next time," blah blah blah.
Oh God, they're going the
All
UFC
that stuff.
route.
They're going the roadies route, and
Oh, the
yeah.
roadies route. Damn.
So at least, I remember having this conversation where I forgot what it was, where they mentioned about the analysts, and they're like, yeah, we have an analyst, she knows all the games or something like that. And I'm like, wait, how can anyone know all the games? Well, what do you mean like know all the games, right? Like my career is built around
Who is this
analyzing.
analyst?
I'm like, well, what god is that, right?
Yeah.
And she's probably some really pretty looking host who
Well, good for
knows all
her,
the
man.
games. It's like I've had conversations with some people from different. I won't take names, but I've dealt with quite a few esports tournaments and organizers in India, and
Right.
they're the sort of people who've come up to me and said, "Oh yeah, I know esports. I saw 2 documentaries on it." I'm like, okay,
Oh man.
good for you. Yeah, right. So look, I don't want to.
No, we don't want to point fingers, and we
I
don't
don't
want
want to point fingers. I don't want to shit on them until they show it. It might be a hit.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
might work out. It might work out. I might be wrong. I could be wrong. It might work out. It might really, target all the kids, and all the kids going, oh, this is the next cool thing. I want to get into esports. It might really legitimize esports in India. I could be
Yeah.
completely wrong. It could work out. But
But I don't
little
think that's
voice-
the intention. I don't think that's the intention. I think it's the organizers. I mean, it's business, right?
it is business. No one's doing this for charity. No one's bloody doing this for charity.
Nobody's doing
I
it for
and I
growing the
completely get it.
scene. I don't think they
Yeah.
give a shit about the scene. I think they just give a shit about numbers at the end.
But
of the
that's
day.
what's wrong. I feel in order to get the numbers, in order for the business to work, in order to water the plant that is Indian esports, you got to do it the right way.
Yeah.
You got to stop throwing in your weird ideas about it's like this. Imagine a cricket show where they make people act and do some bullshit. Like that is
Yeah.
not cricket, right?
That's not cricket,
Same
yeah.
thing. I don't want to see some fake contrived thing.
It
But
should
that's
be
just
about
me.
the game, not about like the personalities. I mean, you can have your interviews. I mean, you can hire me, and I'll do the fucking interviews.
Exactly. Like you
But
can hire
that
me.
should be like
I
separate.
I would cast it as well, but that's the thing. I don't want the integrity of the game because I respect the game. I respect Counter-Strike. Like there's Dota 2 as well. I respect those titles. I don't play Dota 2. I don't like Dota 2 or League of Legends. I don't like MOBAs, but I respect those titles. I know that they are viable, solid, like actual esports titles, bigger than Counter-Strike, right? And legitimately, they proved it. StarCraft, Quake, so many games. I respect them. And you got to respect that game. You got to respect what the game stands for, what esports is. It's a serious business for a lot of people.
Right.
It's been legitimized. Like there are $1 million tournaments out there. The governments are recognizing it. Blah blah blah. And then suddenly you pull up this weird masala bullshit. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna buy it.
Yeah.
And the people who buy it, I think it's. Let's put it this way. I don't want that show, if it is the way I imagine it's going to be the first introduction to esports to a lot of kids.
Young minds, yeah.
But young
It's
minds.
gonna
I don't-
mess it
I-
up for a lot of people.
I don't want the parents walking in and saying, "Yeah, kya?" And there'll be like some chick in a skimpy clothes, and it'll be like players arguing, a bleep up, beep 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 beep, mother
Yeah.
chode beep, all that shit. I'll be lad pe dekhta hu, all that shit, right? And parents are like, "What the fuck is this shit?" And the kid's gonna be like, "Papa, that's esports," and he's like, "Yeah, we are never doing that." I don't want that to happen, right?
Yeah.
I want it to be legitimate. I want them to see the game, and the dad sits down with the kid, and he's like, "What is this? It looks pretty cool." And it's like, "This is Counter-Strike, and proper casting, proper production, proper games." I don't want to see I don't want that bullshit to be the first experience people have of esports. And let's be honest, esports is still a very fledgling industry in the country. It's still a very young stage right now, right? Again, I might be wrong, but I mean, those are my thoughts. Those are basically my thoughts.
Yeah, and CGS apparently had a bad effect on the North American teams, didn't it?
Oh yeah, CGS virtually almost killed Counter-Strike. It killed Source.
Oh,
It killed CS Source. It was inflated. There was too much money being pushed in, and there was a bubble. There was, of course, the economic crash. There was a recession in 2008, 2009. So all of those factors combined together, it kind of broke it. But thankfully, that was around the time when Twitch, the Justin.tv as it was called back then, Twitch came out, and all the broadcasters were like, "Hey, you know what? It is time to now we have the opportunity to stream these tournaments live everywhere around the world, and that kind of led to a resurgence of esports overall. But CGS was one of the biggest mistakes. Here's what I'm saying. It's been done in the past. We've had our Games Bond and all these other shows, and CGS learn from what has gone wrong. The problem is, when I've spoken to 90% of Indian tournament organizers or esports experts in this country, I tell them, learn from CGS, learn from what's gone wrong in corruption in KESPA and blah blah. They're like, what is CGS? I'm like, one of the biggest clusterfucks in esports history, and you don't know that. And that's a problem. There's a lack of qualified people working on this, or they're not willing to listen. And if I give this up to them, and they'll be like, hey, you know what, we know better, we have marketing experience. I'm like, listen, buddy, listen, you have marketing experience, that's fair enough. Do you know esports? Do you know the demographic? Do you know how this works? Like, you got to understand it. I'm an engineer. Doesn't mean I can work in a nuclear power plant, can I? Like, doesn't make sense. You can't really just toss in your marketing degrees and expect to understand a different market altogether without, or at least hire advisors, people who know what the fuck they're doing about, and listen to them, right? But majority of them, they just don't. They want to make a quick buck, burn the scene, and get the hell out of there. And I've seen it happen too many times.
Speaking of that, like pay structure, like look at the Indian scene right now. Do you think that the talent that includes the players, casters, commentators, etc. Do you think we're not getting paid enough in India, or are we getting paid? Talent getting paid too much? Certain teams are getting paid salaried. Like, there are different pay structures all over India. And what do you think is good? What do you think is bad?
I think it's fine. I think the teams, the salary teams who are getting paid, I think they're paid pretty reasonable amounts of money. Let's put it that way. It's not over the top. It's not ridiculously low. Like, you can't survive with 10K a month anyway nowadays, right? They're not getting paid that low either. And talent-wise, here's the thing. I know very few talents in the Indian esports scene, so I can't really speak for all of them, but at least for myself, I'm pretty happy with what some people might be like, hey, you're overpriced. So here's the thing, right? It comes down to undercutting. Like, there have been many events which have not got me on board because they felt I was too expensive, and they've got other casters because they were willing to work for free or for a much lower rate. But end of the day, I mean, you can't
it's how much you value yourself and your brand.
Exactly. So yes, I might not get many events. Many people have asked me, hey, why aren't you casting for this event or this event? I'm like, well, they didn't hire me. Simple as that. And that's up to them. That's completely up to them. If they want to hire me.
But you've been hired for international tournaments, and
the caveat there being that since I am from Asia, and with the visa issues and how far I'm, it's India, right?
Yeah.
It costs way more to fly me down from India to EU or to North America, along with the visa headache, than hiring someone from Europe, right? So for me, it's kind of like a weird catch-22, the fact that I'm known as an Asian expert, and that is my claim to fame, so to speak. But at the same time, that's also the reasoning why I'm not hired for that many international events, is because they would mostly the cost of flying me down with all the visa issues and all that, it's only justified when it is an Asian event, when there are more Asian teams involved. So if it's an Asian minor, then it makes sense to hire me down because I'm the Asian expert. But if it's any other event, they're like, you can just hire anyone else. Right, so it's kind of like a catch-22, which it's a kind of this. I wouldn't call it like a glass ceiling or something, but it's something I want to break out of to become more of a legitimate analyst or a caster, not just holding myself back with Asia. Unless we suddenly find like 4 or 5 Asian teams reaching the major, then I'm like, let's go, boy. But I know that's going to happen, so I got to try approaches from different.
I mean, it might be a couple of years. How long do you think you're going to be doing this? Like, is this something that you have put like in like a expiry date on, or you're gonna like cast as long as you can?
I never wanted to be a caster growing up, or like even during when I was playing Counter-Strike. I never thought that this would be a viable career option. I never thought of it as a career option. It just somehow clicked one day, and it just worked out. So it's not like I haven't put like a deadline that I want to stop casting over. I want to continue doing this as long as I like. But if something more interesting, if something which piques my interest comes up down the line, I don't mind doing that either. So I'm open to everything basically.
All right. Now let's talk about CS:GO India and the scene. And like, clearly the scene has stagnated, right? Like, it's not. I mean, it's improved, but not many teams have shown improvement. Only like Entity, Too Easy. These guys are like, they're
Yeah,
doing stuff.
they're the pick of a bad bunch. Let's put it that way.
So, any advice for like the Indian scene and like how they should improve?
Stop being prima donnas.
All right.
S- Take your ego, shove it where the sun don't shine,
Okay.
and start breaking down your game. And start being smart. Stop being dumb. Stop being dumb. Stop being dumb. Like basically, just stop being stupid about how to approach the game. Try and fix your fundamentals. And if you don't know what your fundamentals are, talk to anyone. You can talk to Archie. Archie Usman, Fet Pradhan.
Yes.
Shout out to him.
He is the Indian expert.
He is the Indian expert. I'm no
Yes.
longer an Indian expert. I have.
You've
left
passed on
that
the
a while
mantle.
back. I'll pass on the mantle to him. You
Yeah.
can talk to him. He's more than happy to help out people. We have people
That's
like
true.
Prashant, Equitas, Prabhakar. Really, really smart CS mind. Reach out to people. Talk to them. Try to understand what's going on. If you play 10 scrims a day and you're playing it the wrong way, you're just practicing bad habits, which is making you worse. It's a very simple concept. So yeah, I mean, I can say a lot of things, but that would be the gist of it. Just start. Get smart. After the movie, just get smart.
Do you see yourself coaching a team, an Indian team? Never.
No, I don't. I don't think I could do that. Yeah.
Why?
It's frustrating, and the thing with coaching is, at least for me, I want to be in a server. I want to play, and I don't think I would derive as much pleasure from coaching as I would from actually playing in a team, which I won't anymore. But yeah, I don't think I want to coach.
All right. What about being an analyst? Is that something you'd like to be?
I mean, analysts like
you
on
are.
stage.
I mean, yeah, like on screen, because like casters are generally not.
Yeah. I've funnily enough, apart from my first international gig, all the IEM Taipei, the Asia Minor, Star Ladder Invitational, all these gigs have been me being an analyst. So yeah, I don't mind it. It's fun.
Right,
It's actually fun
You
being
actually
an analyst.
prefer being an analyst to like being caster?
I think my strength is my play-by-play. I think I'm a pretty decent play-by-play caster.
Right.
But when events hire me, they hire me for my expertise in Asian teams, so to speak. So it makes logical sense to take me as an analyst. But I like both. I actually like both. Analyst gives me a lot of. It's a very different environment. It gives you a lot of freedom to talk more, to banter, to interact with the people. It gives you a lot of camera time as well.
Yeah.
So for an up and coming
Caster.
talent or caster, being an analyst is actually a pretty good thing, a pretty cool thing. But at the same time, I would never say no to casting. I love casting. It's something which I could pretty much do. Just wake me in the middle of the night and say, "Hey, cast this game." I'll just do it because I love it. Yeah.
Would you cast for PCP Esports?
Think about it.
All right, who would you
Need the
work for?
money.
Who would you work for? Who would you want to work with if you were to cast somebody in America, Europe? Who would be the go-to partner caster?
I would love to cast with Moses once.
Yeah?
Yeah. I consider him a pretty good friend, damn good friend, really nice guy. And I had the pleasure of casting with Pansy, with JCap, with Demon, with Karn, all these guys, also with Vince. Vince, sharing the desk with Natu, a bunch of guys I worked with. But Moses, unfortunately, I've only met him at one event, which is in Taipei, and I didn't have. He was casting with Pansy, I think, and with Lauren, and he wasn't on the desk, so I never really got to actually work with Moses. But I think I would love to at least have a cast with him once.
Moses, if you ever watch this, like, come on, do it.
I doubt he will, but
Do
yeah.
it. I'll send him the link. I'll tweet it to him. All right, let's do some. He's just like, who the hell is PC Peasants? All right, let's do some light questions and we'll wrap it up.
All right.
So we've done Super Team Asia. You've picked your players. What about Super Team India? If you were to pick some players.
Woo, okay. Amaterasu, best
right.
player in the country right now. I would take Marzel, Explosive.
Yeah.
I would take Hellranger, the in-game leader. I would take Hunter as the Opper, or the lurk guy. He's pretty good. And I would pick. I would take Psy as a fifth.
Sai is actually in chat right now, so
Psy or Excali, but I would go with Psy right now.
Yeah, Sai, there you go, boy. He's actually watching.
Shout out, Psy.
Yeah. All right. Another question on casting. How has it been casting with Fett, like, over the last couple of years? Like, you guys, like, you picked Fett.
A year now.
Oh, a year. All right. It's
exactly a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just been a year. Yeah, it feels way longer than
way
that.
longer. Yeah.
Yeah, we really haven't had the opportunity to go for many dual casts.
Why is that? Why haven't they picked you guys? You guys work well together.
Well, majority of the games we do are online games, where we take turns doing the cast. Most of the is on your premiership, where they just hire one of us to cast, and we just take turns. But we've had some dual casts. I think we gelled pretty well together. Apart from him trying to molest me in between the casts, that's sexual harassment. But every time I call HR in So Strong, they just start laughing at me. So apart from that, it's pretty good.
HR is in on it, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think they're all in on it. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's been going good. I want to actually have more casts with him, more LAN casts with him down the line. I think we're building up a better rapport, better camaraderie, so to speak. It's more natural than how it was earlier.
And
so, yeah.
and you technically hired Fett. Like, you picked him out of the...
Yeah, I picked him out.
Yeah, so what was it about Fett that you actually liked when you picked him out?
His sense of humor.
All right.
His sense of humor. No, it's actually true, because So Strong, as such, it's a running joke in So Strong. There are like 10, 12 of us 11 of us actually who work, and we've always said that if we're only guy company, if there was any lady we hired, she would sue all of us for harassment. That's the way we are. We're very, very crass, very loud, very obnoxious at times.
Yeah.
And all the people who were potential candidates, I spoke to many of them, and I'm like, yeah, these guys wouldn't survive. They wouldn't survive a day in the company. And then I met Archie, spoke to him, and I'm like, okay, this guy's something special. So pretty much why we got him.
Would you have any advice for Archie that you could... I mean, a lot of ESL India viewers are watching, so any advice for Archie as a caster that you can give him right now, and it'll be on record.
On record right now, ignore the chat. Stop talking to the chat, man. Stop interacting with it. Take a look at the chat if you want to get tilted, but I would say just switch off the chat, ignore it, and just do what you're doing. Don't interact with the chat. I think that's one thing. Since he was more of a streamer than a caster, I think that's the hardest part for him to let go. So when he casts, he always looks at the chat. He always wants to interact, and many times he won't be really interacting until there'll be one twat in the chat. He'll just keep on calling him curry caster, third world caster, blah blah, and he'll finally snap. And between the cast, he'll just go on his tirade saying, I'm better than you, your mom, blah blah blah. I'm like, no, we're not supposed to do this, Archie. I think that's one fundamental thing he needs to get rid of.
Yeah. All right. What's your favorite skin in CS:GO?
The AK-47 Fire Serpent factory new stat track.
Really? Why?
Yeah.
Like, what's
because I like it. It's a very pretty skin. I feel it's more artsy, so to speak. It's more like a painting, like a mine symbolism, and I think it fits very well with the AK-47. I'm not a big fan of the entire point disarray and all those fractal designs and all that.
Yeah. I love those, by the way.
Everyone is own, everyone is their own.
Is it true that you got scammed?
I got fished.
Yeah, so could you tell us about that?
This is Archie, isn't it?
No, this is me. I remember this.
Fuck. All right, so I was looking to upgrade my knife. I had a butterfly crimson web, and I was a little bored. I'm like, hey, let me upgrade it to a karambit or a slaughter, a butterfly slaughter. And there was skinsjar.com, and I googled it, and I just saw it, and there was Ani sitting next to me as well, and I saw the site, and it was the first search item. Clicked on it, and I'm like, this is legit, right? And he's like, yeah, it's completely legit. I look at it, and I put in my skin, and I had a brain fart. I don't know why I had a brain fart. And it's one of the sites where you deposit it and then you withdraw it. It's supposed to be a trade, direct trade, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But since I don't do much of skin dealings, I'm like, oh, maybe this is. And I asked him, this is legit, right? He's like, yeah, it's all good, dude. I just traded my skin for something, recently. I'm like, okay. And then I put my skin in and I can withdraw the knife I wanted. I'm like, I wonder what's wrong here. And they're like, you need to have a minimum of $400 in your balance to withdraw. I'm like, this is not right. And I look at the name and I asked everyone. Everyone's like, they're like, we can't see the difference. And we look at the URL and it's skinjars.com. And this one had a tiny little dot under the end. And that's how it got scammed. I blame Anish Nems of CSGO India. I blame all the admins of CSGO India. Fuck you guys. You guys take a cut from all these scams.
Like Zeus is just bad luck for like two so strong employees. Like you lost your knife. Fett can't walk anymore because of Zeus. Like Fett's a cripple.
I'll take losing my knife than Fett being a cripple, to be very honest.
Yeah, man. Shit, dude. All right. So we've done Super Team India, we've done Super Team Asia, Super Team Worldwide. I know you're a Fnatic fan, so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a Fnatic fan. I love the org. I also love the style they play. But okay, Super Team Worldwide. Fallen, Coldzera, Nico, Rain. Who would the fifth be? So it's Fallen, Coldzera, Nico, Rain. It's basically SK and FaZe. And who would I throw in as there? There needs to be a support player here. I don't want to put in just all superstars over there. It doesn't make sense. Glaive. No. You already have Fallen. There's no need for a Glaive there. I would put in Dupree.
Dupree?
No. Zipix. That's my final lineup.
All right.
Zipix. How
It's a pretty fucking unfair team to
go
up against.
That's a super team, bitch. That's a super team.
All right. Best team to look forward to coming up 2018, like Boston Majors. Who do you think is gonna surprise us?
Nip could have some upsets. The hundred Thieves org, the ex Immortals guys, they could potentially have some upsets as well. But overall, I think it's gonna come down to SK and FaZe. I don't expect to see that many big upsets, to be honest.
All right, and since you do have insight into the workings of these teams, who do you think is the best coach right now in the world, across?
Coach?
Yeah. And you don't say Equitas because he's your boss, okay?
It's hard to really say the best coach because you don't really know how much influence these coaches have on the individual teams, right? But overall, I think Zonic is a really, really good coach for Astralis.
Okay.
Because I think more than anything, he's kind of like this guy who holds them together. He's a very experienced player, played for MTW, legendary 1.6 player. And even they've said it as well, if Zonic goes, we go. That's what they said. That's how much they love the coach. I haven't seen any team love the coach so much. So I think he's doing something right. So I think Zonic for Astralis.
Or he just buys drinks for them when they win.
Could be, but I think they're all legal though. I think the drinking age in Denmark's 18.
No, so. I mean, I think he pays for the drinks is what I'm saying.
Could be. But whatever he's doing something right.
Yeah. All right, music. You're a big metalhead, which is everybody knows this. It's in your SourceRank profile. It's in your Facebook profile. It's in your Twitter.
I yell it from the skies.
Yeah. So since you love metal, fuck, marry, kill. Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber, Katy Perry. I mean, come on, this shouldn't be so hard.
Miley Cyrus, okay. Fuck Miley Cyrus, kill Justin Bieber, and marry Katy Perry.
All right.
I like Katy Perry. I actually like a couple of her songs.
Yeah. You actually do? Which one? Yeah. Which Katy Perry song do you like? Bleh.
What's that song? I can't remember it now. God God damn it, I can't remember. I actually like Miley Cyrus songs. I like Party in the USA, the rock version, and I also like Katy Perry's. What's that song called? God damn it. I Kissed a Girl.
Oh yeah, that's a classic. That is actually a good song, and it has a
That's a
nice video as well.
It's a very nice video.
All right, your actual music, like, what do you actually listen to? Like, what would you recommend?
I listen to a lot of things, to be very honest. I used to be a hardcore anal metalhead guy back in the day, where I'm like, oh, what do you listen to? Oh, I don't like metal. Well, fuck you, you're dead to me. That used to be me a long time ago. I think I have evolved over the years, and now I'm more open to a lot of stuff. I listen to a lot to. I like 80s pop. I like jazz. I like blues. I like classical. I love metal. Blah blah.
Do you like alt rock?
Some alt rock, yes. Yeah. For me, it's like there are bands I don't like, but I'm not that anal about anymore. Even in metal, there are many genres I don't like.
Top 5 bands. Let's go.
Iron Maiden, number 1. Number 2 would be Megadeth. Okay. Number 3 would be King Diamond.
I haven't heard of these
I bet you didn't know that. Yeah,
I have no idea who these guys are.
King Diamond. Number 4 would be. Look, Metallica gets a lot of hate. Even I don't like them anymore now. But the first 4 albums of Metallica were game changers in the scene, and for me as well. So I'll put Metallica down there. They change a lot of things for me.
Okay.
And 5th would be. This is hard, man. Like. God damn, this is hard. Too many bands.
Death. There's a band called Death.
It's a great band.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Bleh. Thank you so much for coming for this podcast. I know you're busy.
Thank you for having me.
And it's been a lot of fun. Guys, we will be putting out 3 shots, 3 5-minute videos. Do check it out. In case you've missed the podcast and you want to just catch up on the highlights, you can follow Bleh on all the links in the description of the video. There's his Twitter. What are you most active on? Twitter, right?
Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, so follow him on Twitter if you're into that thing, or you can check out his Twitch stream. Check out some of his old casts. I was actually going through it, a bunch of his old casts. If you like listening to his voice and just his voice, I would go to his Twitch.
That was a long time ago. Some embarrassing moments.
Yeah, but still, you know. And he streams on So Strong occasionally. The So Strong channel link is in the description. Most of you are already So Strong subscribers, but if you're watching this later on, definitely subscribe to So Strong. Thank you guys for watching. A big shout out to Fed for helping me prep these questions, because as you guys know, I don't know much about CSGO and esports, still learning. Thank you, Bleh. It's been a lot of fun. Please come back, and please consider casting for PCP esports.
Give me the money.
Yeah, when I do have the money, I will definitely pay you.
Thanks for having me, though. Yeah,
see you, man.
It was fun.
Bye bye. Take care.
Bye bye.